This is War of the Suns from GMT Games. It's the Chinese War of Resistance 1937 to 1945. We're having another quick look at the rules because it's something I haven't really covered in detail, and trying to pick it up, I've realised there's quite a lot of stuff here that needs to be explained. Now, replacements basically when you take eliminated units out of the replacement pool, and they can be returned to play. Now, there are some types of units that can't be replaced. They have an NR in the top left hand corner, okay? But anything that doesn't have that can actually be replaced. There's a little caveat on that, on the fact that if your say clique is dissolved, you can't so the Japanese dissolve your clique, you couldn't actually recruit units from that anymore. But Kuomintang, you're okay. Even if Kuomintang takes over the clique entirely, you can still replace their units. Now, there's a certain restriction on who can do what. The Western Allies can replace all Western Allies air and ground units and all Chinese Army of India units, okay, operating in the Indochina-Burma theatre. Japanese can do all Japanese Army and Japanese Navy and collaborator units and units from any friendly country like Manchu, whatever it was called under the Japanese control. CCP can do CCP in Viet Minh, and the Kuomintang can replace any units of all KMT cliques that have not been dissolved. Right, so I'm wrong about that. If your clique is dissolved, doesn't matter by who's dissolving it, you can no longer replace those units. Now, replacements are handled by two different things, well, three actually, by resource points, domestic economic points, which are DEPs, and foreign economic points, which are FEPs. Okay, and they're actually recorded on the tracks for Kuomintang and the communists. Japan doesn't have DEPs or FEPs, neither do the Western Allies. Now, Chinese troops are divided into three different types. You've got the elite troops. An elite troop is where your turn of arrival, that center 0 thing, well, that basically says you're on the map board for turn 0. Now that's just in white, those are elite troops. Okay, the very best Chinese troops, and they need resources points and foreign economic points to bring them up to full strength, and they also need to be trained as well. Okay, now the other types of troops is you've got standard troops, which are in the yellow box here. You can see turn 0 in the yellow box. They basically use resource points and debt points, domestic economic points. Domestic economic points are generated by your factories. You see all these factories on the board here. They contribute domestic economic points to the track, whereas your foreign economic points are coming in from like ports that you control, that have access to the outside world. Now, the other type of units are the worst type of units, and these are your local units, and they basically need just resource points to actually replace them. These are seen quite clearly here by the fact that they've got a green box around the turn of arrival. Okay. Now, elite and standard units don't always have to be replaced at full strength. If you only use resource points, you can bring elite units and standard units on, but they come in with these reduced markers. I did cover this slightly when I looked at improvements, but I didn't really understand how it worked. It's just when you're not giving them the right equipment. So if you've got an attack strength from 1 to 4, you'll come in with a reduced strength of -1 for your attack and defense. But if you have an attack strength of 5 or more, that would be -2. Okay. Now, most cases, if you want to, yeah, I've already said the elite units replaced by spending the full RP and FEPs. You've got to mark them with training, so that they need to be brought up to an elite status, and that training goes through to 1 full term. Now the rest of the actual process of doing this takes place in the replacement and construction phase of the term. Now it looks like this is in Tablets of Stone, but it isn't. The replacement process says you've got 4 different types of processes here. You've got spend FEP and RP on elite units. Okay, now you have to spend the number of FEP and resource points equal to the stacking. So say I built this really high quality elite unit here. That would be, I'd have to spend 4 resource points and 4 FEPs to bring it up to its full strength. If I didn't spend the FEPs, I would end up with having to pay 4 resource points, but the unit would have, because it's 7 attack strength, it would come with a -2 reduced marker. Okay. The second bit is you spend DEP and RPs to replace standard units. Third bit, you spend RP, just RP, to bring up local units. And then finally, you can spend DEP or FEP to improve ground units. Now, that is not written in Tablets of Stone. For steps 2-4, you can use FEP as DEP or RP, and you can use DEP as RP, but not vice versa. So for example, if I wanted to build a standard unit and I had no resource points, see that one's got a step level of 2. I've currently got 12 DEP and 8 FEP on the track. So I could convert, say, 2 DAPs, DEPs, to RPs, and then actually spend the other 2 DRPs to bring this unit onto the board. So in effect, I've spent 4 DEPs, but I've used 2 of them to take the place of resource points, RPs. Okay. Now, there's something here about unit expansion. Many Komatang unit counters have 2 sides, a front or initial side when the unit first becomes available, and a back or an upgraded side. That one I'm not entirely sure on, because, for example, this elite Quantum Clique, Quantum Clique unit here, on its back it's got a really weak non-replaceable unit, so I'm slightly confused by that. Right, so from turn 6 onwards, this represents a major Chinese army sort of reorganisation, you can replace an existing unit on its expanded side, which is on its reverse side rather than on the front side. You can spend a number of resource points and the same number of DEP or FEP if necessary, equal to the difference between the strength points. Right, okay, so say it was already on the board and it had been eliminated as a strength 1 unit, and then you brought it back. You can bring it back as its full upgraded version from turn 6 onwards, and you'd pay the difference between its poor side and its upgraded side, and in its stacking points. So it's actually becoming a bigger and better unit. Where all this stuff comes from is really a different, it's a subject for a different video. The communists, they have DEP and FEP, and FEPs come from the Soviet Russia and domestic. They've got their own factories for DEPs. In Komitang, it's not straightforward. We'll do a separate video for it. You've also got the fact that oil fields add to well, they can actually generate command points. If you remember, your command points are absolutely vital for activating HQs. And they also can generate foreign economic points, FEPs. Right. Replacing a unit, if you've got any units with 0 steps, they always cost 1 resource point or DEP or whatever to bring them onto the board. There's no such thing as a free unit. Right. You're also able to bring back aircraft are slightly different. Komitang, you have to spend 4 foreign economic points, FEPs, for each Republic of China Air Force, Soviet Volunteer Group, or United States Army Air Force units. Western Allies is 4 RPs to replace each RAF, USAF, USN or friendly RTAF air unit. And Japan spends 4 resource points to produce an Imperial Japanese Army and Imperial Japanese Navy and friendly RTAF air units. Okay. There's also a thing where if you actually repairing air units, sometimes units can get damaged, like an air unit can get damaged by an attack on its base. You'd have to spend resource points to bring that back. I'm sort of getting a bit into the economics. While I am on economics, your command points, if you don't use them all up to activate your units, you can convert them into resource points. Well, Japan and the Komitang, Chinese nationalists can do that anyway. Now there's another thing which we looked at. Right, well, no, I need to mention this bit as well. You've got unit deployment. There's rules on where you can actually replace the rebuilt or the replacement units. Obviously, it's pretty specific for the Komitang in the fact that you've got to put it in the right clique area or the right fraction area, which is all faction area. Someone told me stop calling them fractions, you're supposed to call them factions. Okay, so Japanese will be able to build into stuff like their holding boxes, etc. So I'm not going to go into that very specifically, but there are the rules for where you can replace your rebuilt units. The only other thing was number 4 on the replacement process was the fact that you can actually, if I can find it, you can actually improve your units. Finding stuff. Right, improvement procedure. A unit with an attack strength, a DS strength, it's attack strength of greater than 1, and it's got a defense strength of greater than 1, and it's got an attack strength of 4 or less. You can put a +2/+2 improvement marker on it. That shows you a picture of an artillery. So that what it's saying is you're getting heavy weapons. Okay, so, but if you are an attack strength of 5 or more, you can basically get a +1. Yeah, no, I'm doing this wrong. Yeah, if your attack strength is 4 or less, you can put a +1/+1 marker for heavy weapons, or you can, if it's 5 or more, you can stick a +2/+2 marker onto it. Now, to do that, you actually have to spend just let me check this. Yeah, to do that, you just spend domestic economic points DEPs or foreign economic points FEPs to actually upgrade your units. Okay, that pretty much covers it. I know that was quite a long video, but this replacement process sort of caught me out a bit, actually getting around the dynamics of it.